Welcome to another adventure with West is Best Touring, where our main focus for this trip will be Baladjie Rock, Mount Jackson Homestead, Mount Elvire Homestead, and then finishing off at Eaglestone Rock. So we start the trip off with breakfast at Toodyay at the Toodyay Bakery. Then we head out to Westonia and drop into Carribin, top up with our fuel. Then we head out to Baladjie Rock. We have lunch, have a look around and check out flora and fauna and the scenery. We climb the rock. Then we head out to Mount Jackson Station Homestead and we camp there the night. Get up and have a look around and explore. Then the next day we get up and we go lunch at Mount Elvire. Then we head back to Southern Cross to fuel up. Then we head down to Meriden and then up to Eagle Rock to camp for the night. Then the trip ends there and we head back to Perth after a great success in our trip in exploring, learning new places and exploring new things to go and look at in detail further on. The trip took us 3 days to do, and then also doing roughly around 1,500 kilometres in travel. So to go out there, the roads are gravel, bitumen, and there is some dirt tracks to follow. Just take it easy, don't do anything silly, and when you leave, just leave your wheel tracks and your footprints. So the first town we call into is Trayning, just for a little rest stop. The Trayning area was used as a meeting place by the different tribes of the indigenous, and up until 1859 there was irregular occupation of indigenous in the area. Exploring of what is known now today as the Wheatbelt region only began in the 1830s. So in 1846, the three Gregory brothers decided to run expeditions around the Trayning area and found that there was a few water points to there that were permanent, so were unlikely to succeed in the area for pastoral use in the future. The government in 1866 instructed Assistant Surveyor Charles Hunt to start establishing water sources and making roads to make the region more accessible. And the wells and dams constructed by Hunt definitely paved the way to what the Wheatbelt region is today. The name Trayning was derived from the indigenous word Trayning, which meant to crawl, and a camping place, and over time became known as snake crawling in the grass near campsite. Early pastoralists and farmers used to supplement their income by logging sandalwood from the region, which was a plentiful stock. And Mr. Henry Twine of Newcastle, which is now known as Toodyay, was the first one to have a lease in the Trayning district. With gold being discovered in the early 1880s in the goldfields, this increased the population throughout the Wheatbelt and the goldfields area, which renewed government interest in the region, and the establishment of services and facilities began. And in 1923 saw the local government body being formed. As this was only a rest stop, we definitely will be back at some time to investigate the history and the local area. Major stop is Baladjie Rock. Baladjie is an Aboriginal name meaning unknown. It was first named Mount Hardy by Mr. Dempster during exploration in 1861, but due to the duplication of the name was changed, and Mr. Hunt in 1864 named it Baladjie. Then Mr. H. King recorded the rock in his surveys as Baladjie, so it is known today as Baladjie Rock. And from the rock you have a spectacular view of the vast salt lake to the northeast, which runs from Lake Deborah in the Yilgarn Shire. And today Baladjie Rock is very popular with camping and picnic for the locals and visitors to the Westonia Shire. and the rock outcrop sits within an attractive woodland adjacent to the Baladjie Lake Nature Reserve. And climbing the rock gives you spectacular views of the lake systems and the surrounding woodland. And the rock itself has been sculptured to make caves, lots of overhangs and fractures within the rocks, and some of this forming little ponds of water that is fresh today. And around the rock it is fringed by she oaks, which are alive with birds, beautiful flowers and many other little bugs and reptiles. And these types of rocks were used significantly by surveyors due to the height that they provided around the existing areas, which gave them a great view, which gave accuracy to the maps we have today. And from the information that I can find, the rock itself is about 61 metres high. It's about 334 metres above sea level to the top. This is a great location for a weekend away where you want to take the kids to go and explore, or even yourself if you like trekking. There's about a 2.7 kilometre trail around the rock that you can walk, which takes you up the top of the rock as well. There is camping and picnic areas in the area. There is also a toilet, but be considerate, there's one toilet and it's very slow at filling. So the best thing is bring your portaloo if you have to, but the other thing is make sure you bring plenty of water and your own wood for your campfire if you're camping during the fire season. And we will be back in the future to explore Baladjie Rock in more detail, but also the Westonia region as well. And our next location is obviously Mount Jackson Station Homestead. Mount Jackson was named in 1846 by Mr. Gregory, who was exploring the area. Sometime later in 1894, gold was found. This helped to establish a settlement in Mount Jackson area. At its peaks, like other gold towns, hotels were the social point, so Mount Jackson ended up having two during its peak period. It was around 1895 that the homestead was built, and the rocks that formed the homestead were reclaimed from the old dam that was dug at the time. The station was owned by the Snooks and the Atkinson family in its early days, and amazingly, the Atkinsons owned the first car in the district, which they ran the mail run from Mount Jackson. In 1917, the Clarkson brothers took up the lease, and they also had a lease in Kew at the time. The brothers ran cattle and horses, and they ran about 1 million acres, which was the Mount Jackson station. And in the 1940s, the owners relinquished the station. The 617 metre Mount Jackson Hill was discovered by Augustus Gregory in 1846, where he named it Mount Jackson. And as said previously, in 1894, the prospectors James Speakman and William Hall discovered gold in the region. In 2008, iron ore was starting to be mined and trucked out through Coolinobbing, and then after Coolinobbing it was railed through to Esperance Port. And today, Mount Jackson Station is basically a cattle station that has some mining operations now located within its areas. Mount Jackson has a cemetery for about 7 people. 2 headstones remain. One of the graves is for Patrick Byth, who died in 1914, some years after the mine closed. There's also a small grave reported to be about 1 mile northwest of the cemetery on Clapton Road. Girl 3 to 4 years old from the Cousins family. She She was killed after being run over at a picnic. She was buried on the spot. Until about 1960, people used to drive up in a car about once a year and place flowers on the grave. They never spoke to anyone, so no one knows who they were or whose grave it was. So make an effort to get out to Mount Jackson Station. There's no toilets, there's no facilities. You have to bring everything with you. Make sure you got plenty of water and make sure you check on the weather. Campfires are allowed, bring your own wood, and please only leave your footprints and your tyre marks. Take all the rubbish back with you. Our next destination is Mount Elvire Station Homestead. This station was named by John Forrest in 1869 and it was named after his wife. He also named the nearby lake, Lake Barley, after the colonial secretary of the time. The first pastoralists for this area were two German brothers by the name of Ramil. That happened somewhere around 1920. They basically erected much of the primary fencing and sunk several wells before stocking with 2,000 sheep. As avid cricket lovers, they used to go to Bullfinch to play cricket. On one of their returns, the well had turned salty and all the sheep had died. In 1966, Mr. Malcolm Ross took up the challenge of leasing the station, but never ever fully developed it in any way or improved it. Then it was the McLaughlin family's turn. They took on 3,500 sheep off the lease, and that was between 1973 and 1977. Then in 1989, the Department of Agriculture inspectors found a crop of cannabis at a sheep station in the Midwest region near Kew. This followed on with police operations, and another crop was found in Gin Gin, and then another one was planned to be planted at Mount Elvire by the syndicate. 10 people were arrested for this drug bust, but it wasn't for a few years later that the ringleader was finally caught. In 1991, Calm took over the station and now offer it for tourism, allowing for camping at the station homestead and at the lake. And in 2006, the station was converted into the Mount Elvire Conservation Park, which actually formed part of the Mount Manning Nature Reserve. As you can tell, this poor old station had it tough from the beginning. No water to be around, the wells had to be dug. When wells were dug, they turned to salt. But today it resides as a good picnic camping area for travellers. Bring your own water, again bring your own wood, and make sure that we only leave our footprints and tyre tracks. There are some other camp areas, which is over by the granites you can see from the homestead, but also if you travel a bit further north you'll actually be able to camp at the point up near the lake. And there really is a lot to discover in this area, as well as the other ranges and that are nearby. Here we head off to our last stop of the trip, Eaglestone Rock. It's one of the granite outcrops within the Nungarran district. The Europeans' first discovery was by Mr. Rowe during 1836 and became a prominent feature during early exploration. Eaglestone Rock has some great formations within it, some caves that can have a look around it, and also abuts Lake Brown to the south. And activities in the area is rock climbing. You can also go for a bush trail, bushwalk, bird spotting. You can often see the eagles perched up on the rock. And it's also got a great little barbecue picnic area to go and sit around and relax in as well. As not only that, it has great camping facilities with toilet and also plenty of bays. And at the right time of year, there's also great for wildflowers to be seen around the local area as well. And only being a couple of hours from Perth, it's a great location to go out for the weekend, to take the family, the kids, and have a look around and spend the time exploring the local area as well as Eagle Rock. Well, while the last of the photos and videos and that are playing, I'll just like to say thank you for watching, and I hope this entices you to get out there and explore. This trip has been basically to explore these areas for ourselves and get an idea of future trips that we would like to look at doing and explore in detail. And we hope that maybe one day you want to join us or tag along one of the trips and enjoy the friendship and the learning that we do on the way. And as mentioned, these locations are definitely worth exploring in further detail. The history behind them, the happy times, the sad times, the struggles and the achievements are all worth spending the time to go out and look around and explore these locations, but also support these communities that are smaller, because we don't want to lose them, and we want to make sure that these locations are maintained for our future use as well. So once again, thank you for watching, and if you know anybody that could be interested, let them know the channel, and let's hope we can build this to a bigger channel. But let's keep going, because we know the West is best, and the only way we're going to discover it is by getting out there ourselves and getting into it. Okay, thank you for now, and bye.